Received a request for child support from a woman I've never met. I'm a cis woman and have never had children. Plus updates. Original post. A few days ago, I received a notice from an attorney that I'm being sued for child support from a woman I have never met nor heard of. Context: I am a biological woman. I am straight. I have 0 children. I've never done surrogacy, egg donation, or even given birth or come close to it. I contacted the attorney listed on the document, a fairly well-known attorney around where I live, to make sure it was legit. And yep, it's legit. He stated that his client came to him to sue me for backdated and future child support for a 15-year-old and stated that I am the biological father. The attorney had my name, address, and info like my birthday, where I went to high school, etc. Yet somehow didn't know that I am a woman? The attorney also stated that the woman is in her 40s, repeated her name to me, and verified with me if I know her. I stated I've never met or heard of her. I'm a biological woman who has never had a child, and even brought up that if I was a man and was the bio-dad, how would she not be in trouble for statutory rape, as I would have been barely 15 when the child was conceived, and she would have been mid to late 20s. The attorney stated that as an attorney, he needs to follow through, and I need to see him and sign the documents and do a DNA test to confirm any relation to the child. I informed the attorney that it's literally impossible for me to be the father, but he won't take no for an answer and told me to bring my lawyer to his office tomorrow. Do I actually need to get an attorney? Can I just show up and be like, look at me, very much a woman and have never given birth. Leave me alone. I need some proper guidance on where to go from here. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Do not meet with this a-hole. Let them serve you a court summons if they want, and show up in your Sunday's best. And bring your birth certificate with you. Do not go to his office. Let him sue you and show up to court with birth certificate in hand. Definitely no DNA test. This whole thing sounds weird. What about the bar complaint for mispresenting facts to the court? Correct, or failing his duty to properly investigate a claim prior to bringing an action. Now for the update. First, to answer some questions I received via PM and saw posted. No, I do not have a masculine/gender-neutral name. I actually have a very long feminine first and middle name. Both are also spelled very uniquely. Yes, I have brothers. No, none of them have passed, so I wasn't being sued in their place. They're all alive and well, and even easier to get in touch with than I am, as I'm not even in social media, and they are all very active in social media and have public pages, LinkedIn profiles, etc. Much easier to find randomly through a Google search. Yes, I also have a father. No, he wasn't the one I was being sued for child support on behalf of. In the beginning, this woman stated that I didn't even have any family by the way. She told the attorneys I can give him the family he's never had, since he's been alone his whole life, referring to me as he. Even if one of my brothers was the father and I did a DNA test, which I didn't, there would still be no way to prove I'm biologically related to this child, as I'm adopted. The only relation to my siblings is literally because my parents signed a piece of paper and drove to pick me up from state custody. Also, if she were trying to set up the DNA test to prove a familial link to the kid without a father present, if she knew anything worth her time about my family, she would have gone to my sister, who is biologically related to the rest of my adoptive family, adopted from another family member. No, I thankfully have not been a victim of identity theft. This was not someone posing as me. And thankfully there was no shady stuff in trying to change the paperwork from bio-dad to mom. Even in the documents this woman's lawyer presented to my attorney, and the documents I was sent, it clearly stated that I was supposedly the biological father. Now as to what happened. I went to the attorney's office with my attorney as he requested during our call yesterday. And guess what? The suit was dismissed. It happened very quickly, thank God. I thought we would meet with the judge, because that's how I assumed it worked. But we went to the lawyer's office and met with him and the woman who filed the suit. I got an attorney as I reached out to a friend who lives in my state, as a lot of his families are attorneys, one of the families where it's in their blood basically. Turns out, his aunt handles family cases. He got me in touch with her and we spoke. After I told her the situation, she laughed and said she'd do it pro bono just for the entertainment. Apparently, she knows the other attorney and says he's a prick. So I guess that's a benefit for me since she was more than happy to represent me. We met with the attorney, showed my birth certificate, ID, passport, adoption papers, and my initial BC prior to adoption for good measure. The attorney was frustrated with his client obviously, but very kind with myself and my attorney about it. He apologized for the inconvenience. The whole thing was dismissed, and while my attorney initially suggested an order of protection, because clearly this woman was unwell, as while we were in the office, she was saying that I was a man who had a sex change to dodge support, which is why she referred to me as he and said I make more than enough money, and my money belongs to her and our child, etc., etc. We ultimately decided against a restraining order, as after all of the insanity, she was honest about how this came about. She, myself, and my male cousin used to work in the same place over a decade ago. I worked a different shift in a different part of the building. She was a secretary, and he was a typical office worker. He is the father of her child, as apparently they had known each other for years prior. But he is also now a convicted violent felon, currently incarcerated and not on a birth certificate. They are the same age, and they went to school together in the next town over. Since she had access to my information, as the office still has prior employee records, and knows I'm his cousin as he told her I was his cousin and I worked there, even though I never crossed paths with either of them there. Didn't even know she worked there. Knew he did, but never saw him due to different shifts/areas. She said she confirmed the connection via Facebook because he has our family listed, and with that, she was able to link my cousin to his father, which led to my mother as he has her listed as a sister. She's his sister-in-law. My mother was always my emergency contact, so she has access to the information. She said since she was able to get my contact information in the easiest way, she figured she could throw a suit at me, get a DNA test, then lead back to him and she would try to go over him and to my uncle for support, as he retired from a good job and has disposable income, and my cousin is incarcerated. No, I don't understand her thought process, because honestly, I have no idea how any of this works, or if that is even a thing she could possibly do. Also, she said she was recently fired, which is why this came up now. And since she knew my cousin was incarcerated and she needed money, she found me via our last name and made a copy of my resume and important info in my life. After all the theatrics and chaos, etc., she said she finally decided to give up the fight because she realized she couldn't win. Especially once I presented my paperwork and mentioned that some of it was my initial adoption/birth records before the adoption. That's when she realized there was zero chance that the DNA test would get her where she wanted with everything. Sorry if this isn't the super exciting update you were looking for, but I'm just glad it's over. At the end of it, I just hope she gets help, but I'm staying far away and warning my family about her. I hope you all have a great day. Wow, what a psycho. I get that she is desperate, but she should have texted your cousin's dad and told him about the situation and then went from there. But you should at least let your uncle know that he has a grandson out there that he did not know about, so he can decide what he wants to do about that situation. I definitely am going to inform him and more members of my family just in case. However, according to her, she has no way of contacting anyone else in my family. She only got my info from taking it from an old employee file from a decade ago. That may be possible, but if she found out where you live, she could have at least sent you a certified letter explaining the situation, and I'm sure you would have gotten your uncle in touch with her, lol. That's what I figured too. Without sounding mean, she seems very unwell. She genuinely thought this was the best method to handle the situation. Unfortunately, in the end, she screwed herself over. The suit has been dismissed, and now she'll most likely be reported to the former employer for stealing private records. Plus, my uncle has no responsibility for this kid. He doesn't even have a relationship with his son nowadays, since he's incarcerated for life. Her best option at this point is to pursue paternity with a violent convicted felon that isn't even allowed around children. I feel for her, but I hope she gets any help she needs and things get better for her and the kid. I hope she gets the help that she needs as well. I know this child is in no way, shape, or form your uncle's responsibility, but you took away the option of her son potentially having family and his life by doing what she did. From what I've found out today, she has plenty of family and was with someone up until right before she lost her job recently. The other dude has helped her raise the kid and still plans to be in the kid's life, but as he has no legal responsibilities, she got desperate and decided this was the best method. It's just kind of a mess of a situation, and it comes down to her needing help that even finances can't provide. There's also the issue of legal repercussions, since she openly admitted to stealing private documents and providing her attorney with them with false pretenses. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not congratulating family on a pregnancy that is a terrible idea? My 30 female close family member, 34 male, is expecting their third child with her wife, 34 female. They have 2 children, both under 5, who they frankly have done terrible job raising. Wife is a stay-at-home mom and smokes weed all day while her kids are plopped in front of the TV. The kids aren't in preschool, potty trained, verbally up to par, etc. They've had CPS called on them more than once. They don't have a strong marriage. There has been infidelity in both parties. Recently, about 3-ish months ago, there was a blowout regarding her having an affair. She claimed she was feeling suicidal. I had to take the kids. It was just a mess. They also financially aren't doing great, regularly asking their parents for money. Wild, considering they always have funds for weed and going out. They're basically a hot mess. My family member just told me they were expecting again. I very plainly asked, "How are you feeling about that?" And this was not well received. He said, "You're not happy for us. There's going to be another baby in the family." And again, I very plainly ask, "Do you think you're doing a good job with the children you have?" And that last bit really set him off. He said a lot of unkind things, and we're currently not on speaking terms. They aren't good parents. They aren't providing their kids with a happy, safe family. They cannot afford another child. The math of this affair, or mathing to this child, could be fathered from the affair. Not every pregnancy is a good one. They should not be celebrated. Their family, and obviously the baby, is innocent in this, but am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He got mad because he knows you're right. If you speak with him again, make sure to remind him that this kid has a chance of not being his. These kids surely would be better off without their parents. Otherwise, they're being set up for a difficult life where they think all of these behaviors are normal, which could result in a vicious cycle in your family. It is actually a good time to remind your family member that there is still time to get his act together. Not the a-hole. They need several hard doses of reality. And to be honest, you were pretty kind about delivering one as gently as you did, considering you've had to step in. If they're as behind as it sounds like, those existing kids are probably destined for foster care within a year or two. And I think they know they're running on borrowed time there. Not even. I discharged a 7-week-old with an old brain bleed, home to the parents that did it just a couple of weeks ago. CPS cleared them. Their lie was inconsistent with the nature of the injuries. For the social worker who witnessed the interview, the CPS worker said, "If you say she fell from a high chair, she can go home with you." So they did. But she's 7 weeks old. She doesn't have to have her trunk control to sit in a high chair. I'd never seen a neurosurgeon cry before that day. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband's mother he was lying about our divorce? Me, 38 female, and my ex, 37 male, got divorced about 3 years ago. We have 2 children, 9 male and 4 male, who we shared custody of. The divorce was caused by 2 things. Me finding him in our bed with another woman, and the fact that his reaction upon me kicking her out and getting upset with him was to pick up our nightstand lamp and try to hit me over the head with it. During the divorce, there was a stalking problem I'm not going to get into, and we ended up getting court-mandated counseling when it started clearly affecting our sons. Counseling ended up helping, and after the mandated period was over, he decided to find a therapist closer to his home and set up regular sessions. We spent holidays together, so our sons can have their entire family around. So with Thanksgiving coming up, we all get together and decide to host at my house. While our kids are out getting some quality grandparent time with my parents, me, my brother, ex, and mother-in-law are sitting around and chatting to relax a bit. And a conversation turns from the holiday season to our sons and to our divorce. My mother-in-law mentions that it's nice seeing us still being civil, instead of at each other's throats. And ex mentions that talking about it helped. I initially think he's talking about therapy, as I'm sure anyone would, but then he starts talking about it further. According to him, we just didn't mesh well together as spouses, and we both grew miserable in the relationship. When he saw it was upsetting our sons, he took it upon himself to start the discussion. After a very long and difficult conversation, we both decided divorce is the best option. He then tells his mother that he was lucky our talk had been peaceful, instead of a mess like online stories. I admittedly wasn't thinking. I mentioned how I wouldn't say cheating on me and then trying to knock me out was peaceful, but that I was glad he had such an optimistic view of it. His mother lost it on him, while me and brother just dipped for a bit. And afterwards, ex pulled me aside to tell me that it wasn't right for me to tell his mom about what happened and air his dirty laundry. That he had apologized and changed, and was still actively trying to get better, and that it hurt to know I was still upset with him over a mistake that happened years ago. My brother said that he understood where I was coming from and agrees with me, but that it was a bit of a prick move to tell his mom during a holiday, instead of simply putting him aside and talking to him about it, especially since we'd all be under the same roof for a few days. No one told my parents or the kids what happened when they finally got back, but I'm not naive enough to believe they haven't noticed that something had happened. Not the a-hole. Not a freaking chance in this world that you should have to feel a little bit of sympathy for that. He didn't just give 2 cents about marriage while betting someone in your bed, your home, and had the audacity to have a reaction and physically abused you. He assaulted you in your home. Not sure what kind of a father he is, but his family should be aware about his deeds and why this marriage is not working out anymore. It's not about dirty laundry. He made those choices consciously. My husband has never raised his voice at me once, even when I'm wrong. Good relationships are possible. Don't let this stupid, crappy world have you feel otherwise. He just wants to have a perfect picture in his family and friends' eyes, like some men would like to have, because hiding your nonsense becomes easier that way. Again, not the a-hole. Please don't feel bad. Not only did he lie by omission to being a cheater and abuser, he had the audacity to pretend he was the one who recognized the problem and took positive, proactive steps to end the marriage on good terms. What a giant a-hole. OP, your brother is wrong. You were completely right to let his mother know exactly what he's capable of. I'm so mad on your behalf. At least mother-in-law was also mad and had tried to defend her precious baby like so many do. Much like an addict, he still has some work to do and hasn't taken full responsibility for his actions. He actively lied right in front of your face to make himself look better. He had 1,000 choices of how to admit fault, and he chose to blatantly lie. He 100% deserved to be called out on his behavior. And I don't think therapy is actually helping if he's lying about where the blame belongs.